guys, I wanted to try a little experiment. I don't know if anybody else ever has this feeling, but sometimes I know that I want to paint, but I don't necessarily want to be creative, I guess. I don't want to have to think about what I'm going to do or how I'm going to put it together or the composition or any of that stuff, or even honestly making it look good. Sometimes I really just want to put paint down. So I tried to come up with something that would allow me to do that and just kind of let your brain rest. And I really wanted to do some coloring book pages. Now, many of you know that some companies like Gravy, they do have some coloring books and some options. This is their one of them. This is the landscape. I got it from Amazon. It came. The corners are a little dinged. Obviously, you can only paint them once. I happened to catch it on sale, but normally these run $15-20, and there's only 15 sheets in them, so it just seems a little expensive to me. I guess you could always scan these and print them out on your own watercolor paper. My printer does not necessarily like that, so I don't really do that. I also have an inkjet printer, so when you start watercoloring with it, you do tend to get some ink that runs, so that's not really ideal. I guess if you had a laser printer, you could do something. Also, my printer doesn't particularly like the thicker watercolor paper. Usually it kind of chokes up. So my solution was to do stamps. So in this case, let me lift this up. I ended up getting a couple of stamps. I got these off of Amazon. I know most of us are trying to get away from the Amazon stuff, but I didn't really know kind of where else to get them reasonably. If anybody else knows where to get some good quality stamps for a reasonable price, preferably like a small business, by all means, please post it in the comments. I would love to see it. I just don't know enough about this. So these are the two stamps that I use for what you're about to see. I do know that you have to have archival ink for this to work. And so I just ended up picking up a big pad. They do come in different colors. So I got a black, this is a gray. So if you wanted to paint this and you didn't want the lines to show, then you could do it with a lighter color. If you don't care about the lines or you want the lines, then you can go with the black. But in this case, this one is a couple of different pieces. So this here is the one big stamp, and then this flower and these were from the dragonfly and this dragonfly. So I actually recorded this earlier and didn't like it, so I'm re-recording it, which is why some of these are already painted. This is the Light Wish paper. It came from in the 6-ring folio. They had them on sale here a while back. So I grabbed one, so that's what this paper is. So I laid down the stamps. I will say that stamping is definitely a technique, and it is not necessarily easy to master. I also was trying to stamp 3 different dragonflies at a time. That didn't go so great for me. Clearly I need more stamping practice, but I did get a couple that were still okay to actually do. It's hard sometimes to get the pressure on the stamps evenly to lay it down. Like I said, stamping is definitely its own art form. It does take a little bit of practice. But I just wanted to show on these that you can see that I have painted, and I do not have any bleed on these. The lines are still intact. I also did, when I first got these, I got this set, or I got a set, and I went ahead and painted this. This is that visual journal I've showed you guys before. This is 2 layers. This blue is 2 layers of paint, and no issue on the lines. I put a little bit of iridescent medium over the moon, and then I think, no, that's just yellow. I couldn't remember if I did iridescent on that or not. As you can see, I did have some issues in my lines. Again, stamping is a little more complicated than it seems, but it does give you some options because there's all kinds of stamps out there, and you can lay down kind of anything you want. If you want to color flowers, then you can do that. So I just wanted to go ahead and fill in a couple of flowers on this just so you can see it. Nothing special. Oh, let's see, let's do this color. And we're just gonna come in here with our color. So when I recorded this earlier, it just was kind of too far away, I thought, and I didn't like it. But I like this idea simply because sometimes you just want to lay down paint. You don't want to have to think about it. You just want to kind of enjoy the colors, I think is what it comes down to. So I am not above dragging out a coloring book, basically for the same reason. But I do like to paint, and I just kind of wanted something, an option, I guess, that was a little less expensive than the watercolor coloring books that are available. I just feel like they are silly expensive. I know Gravy's not the only one that has them. I've seen some other ones. Now, I don't own any of the other ones, but I have seen them. But I don't know. I just wanted something, like I said, that can help me relax my brain. I don't have to think about what it is I'm going to paint because all I have to do is keep it in the lines. I also feel like this is not a bad way to help learn some control, be it water control or color control or anything like that. You can just work on laying your colors down. You know, maybe this is where you want to practice putting down some like made up colors, I guess. I couldn't come up with the word I wanted. Some made up colors that you mix together and you wanted to just try out. So this isn't about being neat or, you know, making something that you're gonna hang up or anything like that. This is just putting color down and kind of having a moment and being able to do that. And for me, I like that. I like the idea of being able to just lay some color and not think about it. You know, it's hard sometimes to, you sit there and you debate what you want to do and, you know, trying to come up with an idea that seems worthwhile. And then after a while, I think sometimes it sort of sucks the creativity away when you're stuck with that. And that's a little frustrating. So if you're like me and you just want to put some paint down, then this seems like a good way to do it. I also sometimes will just do swatching. I almost always have another color to swatch, so that's not hard for me. But sometimes I do some swatching instead. Sometimes I'll do some abstract stuff, but like I said, sometimes you just want to lay some paint down and you don't want it to be complicated and you just want to relax your brain a little bit. And this just seemed like a decent way to do it. Let's see, let's do one more thing here and try to trying to decide what I want to do here. But this allows you, like I said, to just enjoy color. I think sometimes we just don't take the time to enjoy color as much as we should. Alright, so still wet, and some of it did blend together, and that's cool. But again, no blurring of the lines, nothing else. This clearly will work and lay down and hold the lines. You notice I did do some layers here. I kind of left them obvious as I put in the shading. So I've had a couple, like these were pretty wet when I put them down, and again, no lines blurred, anything like that. So if you are like me and sometimes you just want to put some color down and you're not quite sure what you want to do or how you want to do it or any of that stuff, then try to make some of your own coloring book pages. You could also find stuff that you like to scan, and if you do have a printer that's capable of doing it and doesn't give you issues on the ink running and that kind of thing, you can print some of your stuff out. For me, the stamping tends to work really well. I do have to practice my stamping skills because they are not fabulous, but it does give you an opportunity to just paint and like I said, just let your brain rest. Sometimes that's what you need. And so I think I'm going to end up making myself a little journal of stuff like this where I can just go in and paint and, you know, put it together and you know, maybe I just want to paint a couple flowers. Maybe later on I want to paint some more. I don't have to paint it all in one day. I don't have to feel like I finished it if I don't want to. But hopefully this will give you an option, like I said, for the simple stuff of, hey, I just want my brain to chill out for a little while. Unfortunately, if you're like me, your brain doesn't chill out easy sometimes. So maybe this will be an option for you. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If you give this a go, let me know what you think, and have fun and go make some coloring pages.